Alright, so just a disclaimer, I am getting over a cold. I do not have coronavirus, which is great, but just keep that in mind. Also, this video is from the perspective of somebody who is an L4. Now, when I say L4, I mean I'm an on-site medical representative, which is categorized as an L4, but I still get paid as a Tier 3. With that being said, because of my role, I am able to move through all the departments which I have. I've worked with basically everybody, even IT, Tom team, outbound, inbound, Amnesty, everybody except for maybe JLL, but even then, I still know those guys and they're pretty cool. Also, the facility that I'm mainly speaking about is an AR sortable, so Amazon Robotics Sortable Facility. That basically means that we work with the pods that come in on the robots. From what I understand, there are, I think, 6 different Amazon warehouses. There's delivery stations, specialty, receive centers. I have a list right here. But yeah, I'm just speaking in regards to an AR sortable facility. I have been at this building for 3 years. I actually launched it. I was among one of the first tier ones within the first week of the building, so pretty cool to see that. And another reason why I'm excited to get to this list of pros and cons. So I'm going to start with the pros, and the first pro I have for working for Amazon is this is the easiest job interview ever. I mean, you literally can just walk in basketball shorts and a t-shirt and they'll hire you, you know. So like I said in the beginning, I technically launched this building, so when I got word that there was an Amazon fulfillment center being opened up, you know, word got around, and then people were just like, oh, you know, where do I go, what's the website, whatever, and they made it very easy for people to know about them and, you know, what number to call, where it was going to be. Amazon's very accommodating for new hires, and it's still like that to this day. Even with, you know, the whole pandemic, they're still very arms open type of company, and the job interview itself was very easy. You can just walk in there and then they'll give you the job. No competition, no, you know, business attire, interview, resume, any of that stuff. You just show up and then you can start working, and it's relatively quick too. Even for me, before the pandemic and launching the site, it was a pretty quick process. You know, they do the drug test pretty quick. The background check was pretty quick, and yeah, I at the time was going from one job to this job to Amazon, and it couldn't have been smoother. So that's definitely a pro. I don't think I've ever worked at any other company that has been that easy as far as starting to work there. So that's a pretty good thing. So another pro I have is Amazon pays more than other companies for how easy it is to get hired on. Now, like I said earlier, you know, this was the easiest job to get hired on that I've had in my entire life. You just walk in, they give you the job. With that being said, they don't pay minimum wage, they pay a little more than minimum wage. For example, when I got hired on 3 years ago, I think I was making $10.45 an hour at my job, and Amazon was already starting off people at $13.25. So that was already a big boost for me. They're also pretty competitive, so you know they're gonna want to give their employees more than the other companies are. Or if another company's offering theirs this wage, Amazon's gonna want to either match that or pay more than that. Right now we're in 2020, and in the county that I live in, apparently minimum wage is 13 an hour, and Amazon is starting their employees off at 15 an hour. So that's pretty cool. Like I said, it's especially cool given how easy it is to get this job, and I feel like it's always going to be like that. You know, if minimum wage goes up to 15 an hour, I have no doubt that Amazon's going to hire people on at 18 an hour or 17 an hour. So like I said, if you just need a job right away, if you have no experience, if you are, a student, or you just want to make extra money, this is the way to go for sure. Another pro I have is the structure of your work schedule. Now, this can be a con too, I guess, if we're talking about overtime. Right now, I'm not really going to talk about the overtime part of it, but mostly when it's not really busy, like not during the holiday season, not during Prime Week or any of that, but all the other times around the busy times of Amazon, I think it's great because it's so structured. Now, depending on the days you sign up to work, you're either working the front half of the week, the back half of the week, or you have like what we call a donut shift, which is you have Saturday and Sunday off, and then you have Wednesday off. This is also considering 10-hour shifts. Now, my building works 10-hour shifts. We did start at 8-hour shifts, but we all voted as a building to switch over to 10-hour shifts, which means I work 4 days a week and I have 3 days off. That in itself is really cool. I've had so many other jobs before this one, and my job before Amazon was one where my schedule was always changing. It was part-time. My days off depended on whoever wasn't sick or was sick, or how the manager made the schedule that week. I mean, this is very structured, and that's a really good thing. If you're busy like I am, if you have a family, if you're going to school. On that note, too, Amazon's very accommodating when it comes to the school schedule, so that's really cool. But to me, having the structure of like a solid work schedule is a really, really good thing, and that's something that Amazon does offer. There are so many other things I can talk about when it comes to like the scheduling too, but they have this thing called UPT, PTO, and vacation. Now, this mostly talks about like how you use your time off, how you want to like request a day off. The best thing about Amazon that I've always loved, this is probably my number one favorite thing about Amazon, is if you need a day off, if you're sick, if your tire's flat and you can't show up to work or whatever, you don't have to go through the awkward conversation of like calling your manager and sounding sick on the phone, or trying to like make up this excuse, and your manager giving you like a half-assed answer or making you feel guilty about it. You don't have to deal with any of that with Amazon. They have it all on their website, where if you want a day off, you just click a button and then you have the day off. Like it's a really, really cool thing, and I'm really gonna miss that, to be honest, when I move on to another company. But yeah, the way that the days off work with Amazon is a really, really good thing. Your vacation is I guess it's kind of, I don't know if it's typical or not, but vacation is automatically approved if you submit vacation 24 hours in advance. So you can literally like take a week off of work. All you have to do is just go on the website and then submit it 24 hours in advance. Like I said, I've worked at other companies where even if you tell your boss, hey, I'm going to take a vacation 3 months from now, like it's not a guarantee, but with Amazon, the way that their schedule structure is, it's almost guaranteed that you can have certain days off, you can take the vacation you want, etc. Granted, this all depends on how many hours you have saved, how many hours you have accrued through every paycheck. I won't go into too much detail about that, but just the point being that it's a work schedule that you can really count on, and that's a good thing. Another pro I will say is, now people will argue with me on this one, but mandatory extra time and voluntary extra time. Now, they are exactly what they sound like, and the better one of the two is probably the voluntary extra time. Basically, during the busy times of Amazon, Prime Week, peak season, which is like the holiday season, like right now actually, they will offer you time to come in earlier and stay later, or they might offer you to come in on your day off, which is even more money for you. Now, like I said, I've worked at plenty of jobs, and I've had jobs before where if you show up early or stay later, your manager is gonna be like, hey, you're costing the company money, why do you stay later? Like it's ridiculous. So Amazon is the polar opposite of that. Like if you are a hard worker and you want to come in on your days off and you know, help the company out, help your paycheck out, whatever, like they're cool with that. All you have to do is just sign up for it. It's called voluntary extra time. They send you a text message, or they can email you, and you can make extra money. You know, it's good money. Mandatory extra time. You know, I'll consider it a good thing too, because generally they kind of give you a heads up that, you know, you're going to be required to come in on your day off, or you're going to be required to show up earlier for your shift and stay later for your shift. Now that can be, you know, 3 days before your week starts, or the night before your week starts, I hate to say, but if you have a lifestyle that is flexible enough to accommodate that, then that can be a good thing, because like I said, it's extra money in your pocket, you know, especially nowadays with the pandemic and people are getting laid off left and right. You know, you're at a company that's paying you more to work, you know, and you have that stability of making extra money. So that is a good thing in my opinion. So another pro I can say is I've had some really, really cool managers. Now, of course, you know, not everything's perfect. I know there are some bad managers out there, but me personally, and even being at my building for 3 years, I'd say 95% of the managers I've had, except for one, has been awesome, you know. And the cool thing too is they've all been pretty young. You know, I think that's maybe a common thing is like, you know, young graduates straight out of college who, you know, land a job at Amazon as an AM, you know, they've all been actually pretty cool. I don't know if it's the training they go through or what, but they've all been really, really cool. I've had some pretty cool coworkers too. I mean, we're all going through the same thing at the end of the day, and the majority of the managers I've had understand that, and they'll, you know, if you're struggling, they'll come up to you, they'll make sure you're doing okay, you know, they'll offer any coaching. I mean, it's kind of part of the protocol. Like, I've been a learning ambassador, so it's part of the protocol if you're struggling for them to like really coach you and pat your back and give you chances. I mean, it's not as cutthroat as some people make it sound. You know, like it's not the type of job where if you don't make rate, they'll fire you then and there. It's really not. You know, I've heard some stories about that, but it's not like that at all. Like, what the protocol is if you're struggling, they offer you help at least like 3 times, and your manager is usually the one that's behind it and is following through with you the whole time. And that's a really good thing, you know. Like, I really felt supported when I was a tier 1 by my managers. And most PAs, they're called process assistant, or the assistant managers, and that's really hit or miss. But for right now, I'm just going to talk about like your area manager, like your main manager that you report to. They're all going to be really cool. The pro, I will say, and I saw this very early on when I got hired on, is it's very easy to move up. I mean, it's pretty inspiring, seeing people that I started with and now they're like way up there, you know, like L5, L6, whatever. How you get there is another story, but you know, I can definitely vouch for people that really busted their ass and got up to the level that they're at. I would say this is especially true for buildings that first open, you know, because when you get hired on at an Amazon fulfillment center that is launching, they're going to need people for learning ambassadors. They're going to need process assistants, area, you know, assistant managers. They're going to want new area managers. And, you know, granted, when a building first opens, they're going to have plenty of externals, and external meaning somebody straight out of college or somebody transferring from another building. But those people aren't really going to stay there for that long, you know. The people that come from other buildings to launch another one, they're going to want to move around too, which gives, you know, the tier 1s a chance to apply for it, you know. And I'd say fairly early on when my building opened, the positions were already opening up, you know. There's already applications out for process assistant and for AM, and learning ambassador especially, you know, they make it very easy for you to apply for that. And I've definitely seen it, you know. In fact, recently I've seen people get hired on they got hired on like 5 months ago, and they're already assistant managers. You know, it just it just depends on how you do with the interview. You know, we'll talk about the interview later on, but yeah, if you just nail the interview, you can move up really, really quick, and that's a good thing. Very good thing. Now we're gonna get to the cons. Now, I already know you're expecting me to talk about the favoritism, and I'm gonna talk about the favoritism because it's definitely a thing. The thing about favoritism is I've seen it go both ways. You know, I've seen it go for people that really don't deserve it, and I've seen it go for people that deserve it, like me. You know, like it just depends, like on the relationship you have with your manager. I got noticed. Well, I don't want to say noticed, but when I applied for process assistant, and this is speaking as a tier one, right? Like when I got pushed to do the interview, it was because like I just worked really hard and I didn't kiss ass. You know, I really didn't. I just like pure work ethic. Like, you know, I like finishing my job. And then I had a really cool manager at the time, and he was like, you know, like you should really apply for PA. You know, like you're a great water spider, a great stower. And that's kind of what pushed me to go for it. And the thing is, like, nobody really told me this personally, or I never heard any gossip, but to me, like, that could look like, oh, this guy's his favorite, you know? But in reality, it's because, like, I just was busting my ass, you know? But there are people that really do just kiss ass, and they're the favorite for that reason. So when I hear the word favoritism, you know, I really like to determine who's it really coming from. Is it coming from somebody who just likes to whine, or is it coming from somebody who like legitimately has seen it go in a bad way? You know, and like I said, I've seen it go both ways. Yeah, I don't know. It can definitely be a bad thing though. You know, like there are a lot of people that didn't deserve it. I can tell you from personal experience. You know, all they did was just do good at the interview. And you know what? This is a perfect segue into the interview process. Now, Amazon does this thing called the STAR method. Now, STAR stands for situation, task, action, result. Now, the way they want you to handle the interview is to answer every question in the STAR format. So it's like, you know, for example, okay, when have you had to work with a difficult associate? What was the result? You know, and then if you don't answer it literally, well, the situation was this, the task was this, the action was this, then you can have the best job experience in the world. You can have the best personality, the best work ethic, and if you didn't answer in the stupid STAR method, you're not gonna get hired for your position, whatever it is. To me, that's a negative, you know, because there are so many good people that I've worked with, so many hardworking, amazing people that deserved their position that didn't get it because somebody who just is great at doing this dumb STAR method, that's it, just because they can talk differently. That's really it, you know. I mean, they really need to get rid of the STAR method. So with that being said, you know, I don't know if it's kind of the same as favoritism, but you know, the interview process, like I said, like if you're like a favorite, depending on if you kiss ass or if you're genuinely a hard worker, that will push you in the direction of getting the interview. And if you're doing this dumb STAR method format, then you'll get the job. You know, like I said during the pros, it's very easy to come up in this company. That's really all you have to do is just practice that STAR method and be a favorite, you know. So that's that when it comes to favoritism. So another con, like I kind of mentioned, is the MET. Now, this is definitely true for somebody that has a busy life like I do. I have 2 children, and my days off are very, very full. You know, I don't really have days off in my opinion. Like I always plan things in regards to like my daughter, errands I have to do, bills I have to pay. So when I get a random text at midnight saying, hey, it's mandatory to come in tomorrow at 6:45 a.m., that's a bad thing for me. Yeah, of course I'm making extra money, but if you're a single parent and you need to get a baby, or you don't have a babysitter and you're required to come into work on a day off, and you can't make it, then you're going to be forced basically to use 10 hours of your unpaid time off. And if you lose all your unpaid time off, then that's it. That's another thing I'll talk about too. But mandatory extra time, it's tough. It's tough for certain people, and depending on your lifestyle, that can be a very, very bad thing. On that note too, your unpaid time off. Now, I said earlier the structure is a good thing, and that all depends on how good you are managing your time outside of work. Now, if you only use sick days for when you're actually sick, or if you only use your unpaid time off for actual emergencies, then you'll be good. But if random things happen in your life where you need 3 days off in a row, or you have court hearings, or your car is going to take longer than a day to fix, then you're going to just naturally use all of that unpaid time off, that paid time off, your vacation. And when it comes to unpaid time off, Amazon is very cutthroat when it comes to that. If you use all of your unpaid hours, then they will fire you then and there. And I've seen this unfortunately happen to really, really good employees. I mean, I knew one guy in particular. He was a learning ambassador, and when you're a learning ambassador, you're basically, you train the new hires, and in my opinion they should get paid more, but you train the new hires for about 4 days, and you're responsible for a group of 10 people. They look to you for guidance, they look to you for training. Now this guy, like I said, he was a learning ambassador. He probably hired on hundreds of people, and he went negative UPT for a legitimate reason. He I don't know, a family member died, or I don't know what it was exactly, but it was a legit reason. And because he went negative UPT, that was it, he was gone. And this guy was, like I said, he was an amazing employee. So that's a con. Like I said, if your lifestyle is structured enough to manage, having a good account when it comes to UPT and PTO, then you'll be fine. But life happens, and if you go under UPT, you're gonna lose your job. That's basically it. Another con I have is kind of along the lines of the favoritism, but there is a chance that you can have bad managers and bad PAs and bad OMs, which is basically the senior operations. I'm not going to name any names, but when I was talking about favoritism, there was somebody who kind of kissed ass and he became a PA, and he just was horrible to the tier ones. This is somebody that worked alongside us, and once he got that different colored vest, he just became a different person. And unfortunately, because we were tier ones, it's not like we can talk back to him. All we can do is kind of just talk to the AM, and if you have an AM who kind of sucks, then there's not much you can do. You're just kind of susceptible to whatever the AM and the PA say. So unfortunately, I'm still seeing that. There are some new people that, like I said, they landed the STAR method, they got their process assistant vest, and now they just have this arrogance, and they can boss you around and stuff. And this isn't the majority, but every company, every manager type has its bad apples. So that is something that is real. How long they last in that position, I can't tell you, but it's a thing, And if I can give you any advice on dealing with a coworker like that, I would say if it's really bad, to transfer departments. I've seen that work for some people, and they love it in their new department. When I say new department, I mean new path too. You're staying in the same building, it's just the Amazon fulfillment center is so big that if you're an inbound, you're like in a whole nother side of the building, and then the other side is something that it's like a whole nother world, you know. So I'd recommend that if you're stuck with a bad PA or a bad AM, please just apply for a transfer and go to outbound or inbound or whatever. You know, you're never just stuck in one position. So back to what I was saying, though, you know, the favoritism can lead to just a bad person getting the process assistant position. So this one isn't really about bad managers, but new managers. Now, when I was saying, you know, my manager was awesome and my team was awesome, I really mean that. But a lot of it had to do with the fact that, one, it was a new building, so everybody was new, and also because when I got hired on, my team was way smaller than it was compared to now. You know, I think when I got hired on, my team was only 20 to 30 people and one manager and one assistant manager. So I had a chance to actually like build a rapport with my direct manager, and you know, I have really good memories of him, you know, talking to me one on one, and he'd do that with everybody, you know. He'd go to every single associate, introduce himself. He would know what their weaknesses were, what their strengths were, what they can work on. I mean, it was great. You know, I never really had a job where somebody took the time to really like work with their people and build them up, you know. But the way things are now and why this is a con is because Amazon really, they've probably always been like this, but they really cater to like new grads. Yeah, I don't know if it's a program that they offer or something, but you know, Amazon tends to hire on like people straight out of college, and this could literally be like their first warehouse job, and all of a sudden they're thrown into a position where they're in charge of literally over 100 people. Now that's big, you know, even for me, like that'd be kind of shell shock. But you know, if you have a person who's like 21 straight out of college, all of a sudden in charge of 100 people, trying to find out what their weaknesses are, what they need to work on, it's just not realistic. And now it's a situation where people get hired on and they don't even know who their managers are. I mean, it's kind of sad, to be honest, you know, because I had such a good experience, and I know that people that get hired on now aren't going to have that, you know. Yeah, I kind of feel bad for people that are getting on now. I don't know if it's because of the pandemic and stuff, but you know, that it's a con to me. It's a con having a manager that's really, really new to the process, and a manager who doesn't introduce themselves to you because they're just too busy. And it might not be their fault. You know, a lot of the managers tell me that they had no choice. You know, they showed up to work one day and there's 40 new people on their roster, and it's not their fault. But given the situation, that I don't know if that's an Amazon thing, but yeah, just getting on a team that's like too busy to get to know you, like that sucks. That sucks. I have two things that can kind of go together, but the main one is meeting the rate. Now, this is all personal. If you're physically able to meet the rate of how you're supposed to do whatever you're supposed to be doing. Now, I'm not going to be super specific because every department has different rates, but meeting a rate is basically how fast you can work. How fast can you get the job done? For inbound stow, you have something called a tack time, which is basically like the speed that you're working at. And for most people, yeah, honestly, I guess the majority of people, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to meet that rate. For me, I can do it because, like I said, I'm a hard worker, and like I just pick it up pretty quick. But most people, especially if you're like older or if you've never had a warehouse job before, it's not going to be easy. It's a very physically demanding job. You're doing this job for 10 hours a day, the same repetitive motion for 10 hours a day. I mean, it's not easy. It's definitely not. If you can't meet the rate, then like I said, Amazon will give you chances to redeem yourself. They'll offer coaching. They'll do audits on you. But if you can't meet that rate, then you just won't stay at that job for long, you know? So I don't want to say it's totally cutthroat, but in that regard, you know, like If you can't meet that rate, if you can't physically make it, then that's it for you. Um, as far as the rates go, I feel like Amazon is a company in general who like really likes to set the bar and keep it that way. Now, it blows my mind because when my building first opened, um, I wasn't a manager at the time, but there was a goal of meeting like 1 million something. It was like 1 million units or 1 million deliveries. And we actually met that goal. The first year that the building opened up, we hit that 1 million mark. And it was like a big deal, you know. We had a big meeting about it, and they're like, "Oh, you guys are great, you know. This is wonderful for like, you know, our facility, and we're beating this other building over here." And we all felt pretty cool about it, right? It turns out the next year it's like, "Okay guys, let's hit 2 million. Okay guys, let's hit 3 million." Like they just keep raising it, and maybe it's possible because we hire on more people, but the fact is, like, if somebody, let's say you're just an average person and somebody next to you just happens to like be like really really good, like they're like abnormally good, they're gonna look at that guy and be like, okay, well this guy over here can meet this rate, why can't you do it? And like it's a thing, it's definitely a thing, you know. Like I don't want to say like you should give handouts to people, but sometimes it could be unfair, you know, raising the bar that high. Um, I've worked in so many different departments, like within inbound, that literally if one person can do it this way, everybody else has to meet that rate. It's almost unfair sometimes. So raising the bar, like that's a big thing, and if you can't keep up, you can't keep up with that bar, then it's going to be tough for you. It's going to be tough for you to last in the company. I guess, yeah, is the best way to put it. The last con I have is probably the most controversial one, and it's very true though. But right now it's Sunday, November 8th, 2020, and we're still in this pandemic, you know, it's still going on. I'm sure people are still laid off, and Amazon is still open. Now, of course, that could be a good thing, but it's a very bad thing at the same time because, you know, I'm going to work with people that are getting COVID every single day. Like I said, this can be a controversial thing, but, you know, we get I'll give Amazon, like they're actually taking precaution, you know, like I'm not a biased person, but you know, they're following the guidelines. They're doing, you know, everybody stays 6 feet apart. In fact, there's a whole department that dedicates themselves to just making sure you're wearing your mask up. We have all this technology. As soon as you walk into the building, they'll check your temperature. They're doing all those things that need to be done as far as like CDC guidelines go, right? But despite that, there are thousands of people that work in this building. Close. You're walking by each other, and COVID's going on. It's out there in the world, and we're still in the same building all together, and people are getting COVID. You know, we get text notices every week. You know, we have another confirmed case of COVID. We have individuals that contracted COVID. You know, and then immediately after it'll say, you know, we're still making sure that we're following guidelines. We're adding this, we're adding that. And they are, but still, people are getting coronavirus. And we're still working overtime. We're still working our 10-hour shifts. They're not offering us hazard pay. That's tough. It's really tough, you know. Like, I have a family, you know, and I'm working alongside people that could potentially have coronavirus, and I just have to cross my fingers and hope that the text message I got last night about somebody getting COVID didn't give it to me, you know? I just have to trust that the people that are doing, you know, the cleaning or whatever it is, that they just cleaned it enough, you know? So it's risky, you know, like I said, we're not getting hazard pay. We're being, I don't want to say forced, but they're making it mandatory for us to come on our days off and work over 40 hours a week sometimes during the pandemic. You know, and like I said, it can be a pro too. It can be like, well, hey man, like, you still have a job, be thankful for that. And sure, yeah, you know, I'm thankful for that, but, you know, if you have health conditions, like, you know what I mean? What's more, making money or taking care of your health or getting another job, you know? So that's a tough one, you know, like I said, it's probably controversial right now, but that's the reality. Is it's peak season right now, it's a holiday season, Amazon wants you to work more. They're gonna pay you to work more, but keep in mind that there's a pandemic right now, and anybody can have coronavirus. We don't know. Statistically, it's what, 1 out of 100 people might get it. You know what I mean? So that's something to really consider. Yeah, it's just the reality of the situation right now. It's the reality of the world we live in right now, and I really hope that things change. You know, obviously it's going to take some time, but I don't think Amazon's really going to, you know, not going to pay us to stay home, that's for sure. But I just hope that the cases start to die off enough where it'll get safer in general. You know, like I said, Amazon is doing all they can to raise precaution and to, you know, make the site safer, but it's still going to happen. People are still going to get COVID. We're still going to be required to come in on our extra days off. That's that. Alright, so with all that being said, that was my list of pros and cons of working at Amazon Fulfillment Center. I hope this video reaches to somebody who is maybe about to apply, or, you know, has maybe already been working at a site and is just kind of curious on, you know, somebody else's perspective. You know, you're not the only one. Yeah, you know, like I said, I'm very not a not a biased person. You know, I try to make this as neutral as possible. This is all just a very honest, straightforward, you know, pros and cons list. Yeah, you know, I really enjoyed my time at this company. I am moving on eventually. Like I said, I am an on-site medical representative, so I was never really an area manager, but, you know, my role is considered L4, and I have been able to work with all sorts of people, mostly managers actually. If you would like me to make another video on what it's like to be an on-site medical representative, I would be happy to. But yeah, like I said, I hope this video reaches to somebody out there. Thank you.